This is the Appliance Alliance Podcast, where we are elevating the appliance industry, one podcast at a time. Hey guys, and welcome to the Appliance Alliance Podcast. I am your host with the most equipment, Zach Ryder, and alongside of me for her inaugural appearance as a co-host, the one, the only, the most amazing person that I know, and she will put you in your place. You better believe it. The boss, Miss Ward.
Hey, what's up? What up? How's everybody doing? I'm sure you're living your best life at all times.
So, Miss Ward, I'm super excited to have you as one of our rotating co-hosts.
Great. Good to be here.
We've had you on as a guest before, and you're like mad respect for you. It's not often that a guest makes me shut up, but
Dad, I gotta do a system. Hey, Mom, bring me some lotion. I can't be an ashy black woman on YouTube. Right? Appreciate it. I just realized when I lift my hand up, I saw a little ash there. I can't perpetuate that. Go ahead, Zach. You know I'm gonna keep it real.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, so this is why we have her as a co-host, because I'm telling you, she came on as a guest before, and it's not often that I'm silent through an episode, but I was pretty silent that whole episode. So, Miss Ward talks, you shut up and listen. So, just saying.
Hey, my mom giving me the side eye right now, like, how dare you? She said, better be glad you came from my loins. You ain't about to embarrass me. And I'm serious. I lift my hand up and I'm looking at elbow action. Look at her. See that? You heard her. She said, I told you to check yourself when you get in here. She said, make sure you go wash your face.
Listen,
hey, no matter how old you get, man, mama's mama.
I'm all salt and pepper, so we're all right here. We're all right here. So, yeah, so like you are a boss. I cannot pronounce it like you, so you're gonna have to do it.
Yeah, BAWSE, BAWSE, boss, boss. I'm telling you, man, I have so much fun with you guys. That's what I love. But I love Appliance Alliance because I love how you guys elevate the game, how you share your challenges and triumphs and things like that. And, you know, it's just real life. And that's what we need in appliance repair. We need the facts and the truth. Because reality, you know, people want to get in and they have no clue.
That's why we get along so well, because we call it like it is. I mean, we were talking yesterday on the phone about one of the podcast episodes that we did that says, so you think you're ready to be an owner? And, you know, we call it like we see it, right? If you're going to put up or you're going to shut up, you know, like there's no in between. If you're going to be out there and you're going to be calling yourself a business owner, you're going to be running a business and going in and out of customers' homes, you best be showing up. You best be showing up for sure. So it's you keep your subs in line, you keep your people in line. Like you're a true, you know what's up.
Yeah, I got one of my mentees is riding with me tomorrow, and his call is at 7 a.m. So I told him that I need him to be on time because we're leaving at 6. It's like not a conversation. You know, because The reality is you can't slow my roll. You're going to sit back, take notes, jump in and help where you can, but don't mess with the paper. Because the reality is, the reason why I'm so protective of how I move and what I do is because I'm very clear that my moves are light years ahead. And it's not because I'm better than anybody else. I just come from a different angle and a different perspective. So, like, prime example, I was one of my brothers with an appliance company, a business in the Boynton area. He needed I needed to get a LG compressor to him, and I was working, he was working. I said, I'm just gonna call it, bring it to you. And he, in his brain, that was brilliant, but it really wasn't to me because that's how I move. Like I'm at a customer's house. I'm in South Florida. I got Marconi I got 3 Marcones within my region. I mean, like right there at each other. And so, you just have to think quick on your feet. And if you are billing and pricing accordingly, you're not taking a cost. You're not taking a hit. But most people, because they don't understand business and they don't understand that you have business expenses, in order to show up a certain way, you need to, like me. Like the guy that was riding with me, he's like, look, I got a collar, a shirt, and some jeans. I'm like, no, hell, you don't. Not in my house because I roll in uniform. So I told him what to get. I got a shirt for him. But the reality is you have to be consistent. You know, the hardest person to discipline is yourself. And that's why I always tell these people, particularly the one-man shops, you got to discipline yourself. You got to, like, whenever you want to take a shortcut, you got to be able to tell yourself no, because you got to think like you are the employee that you're trying to train. And if you're going through that rigmarole, the same things they're going to have to go through to become a stellar employee, you have to set the example within yourself. So you might know the shortcuts, but at the end of the day, what did you gain? You didn't gain anything. You didn't gain the discipline. You didn't gain the opportunity to look at your discipline and your processes and to make sure that they actually work. And, you know, that's part of the issue because people think because you got paid that you won. No, you didn't win. You win when you, number one, buy the product. Number two, go in and diagnose in an expeditious manner accurately, lock in the sale and get it done, particularly if it's one-time completion. If it's not one-stop completion, then what do you need to do? You need to make sure you schedule a follow-up appointment. You get the parts, or, you know, like in some of my jobs, I do a 50% deposit. If the part is more than the 50% deposit, they pay the whole part up front. That's just business to me. And the part is immediately ordered. It's probably ordered while I'm standing there with the customer or when I roll out to the truck, because I need to have everything needs to flow.
Let's talk about process. Because I've been in the industry 9 years. And when I got in, my mentor was from the old school. He was from, we'll come out and I got one evaporator fan and it'll fix, 15 different refrigerators. And, it's not a big deal. As long as I'm bringing in the paper, I'm okay, and that was fine. That worked at a time. Like, we're not in that era now. You cannot do that. And that's how I learned. So I've owned the business for 5 years now, right? I'm in my 5th year, heading into my 6th year in January. And that's how I learned. That's not right. I mean, exactly what you're saying. Just because I was able to do it, at the end of the day, I was not able to prove the process. I was not able to wash, rinse, repeat, right? Like, I cannot bring people in and go, this is what you do. This is how you get paid. There was no process in place. So I could not train a technician from start to finish and duplicate. There was no way to do it. None. Because I didn't have a process in place. So let's talk some more about that process, because it is such an important thing. And I mean, just the way that you lay it out, like you are systemized.
Yeah, but it's by force because, I feel like the more blessed you are mentally and business wise and see so many opportunities around you, the more strict and disciplined you have to be, because I'm like everybody else. Like, people talk to me every day, and as they're talking to me, I'm developing businesses in my mind. Because it's like, okay, there's a need. So how do I create this business? I'm like, well, get your round brown butt back over here and get this one working right. So it's on autopilot. Then you can take your resources and take that one to the next level even quicker. And I think what people don't understand is that most people have all the answers, but they get caught up in the drama and the heat and the passion of the moment. So say that you're a one-man shop, right? The first thing you need to understand, what makes me uncomfortable when I go to customer's house? What intimidates me? So how do I remove those things? So with me, I am a system person, because I know without systems and structure, I'm off the chain. I'm like, who are you? So like, for instance, I hear people talk about issues with getting model numbers. A lot of the old school stuff, they would not be asking their customers for the model numbers. But guess what? All of them were made by the same dang people. They were mechanical and they weren't computer operated. They didn't have to worry about walking in, knowing how to put this oven in diagnostic mode, cancel, start, and then know what button to push first, just in case the arrows are not there up and down. You might have to, in the plus sign, you got to hit a 3. How do I know that? Because I read the service manual before I went.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. Everything you invest in is a process. So give me a appliance and I'll run you through my process. Like, you're gonna be the customer and tell me what your issue is. So
Well,
like, call. Mhm.
I'm talking, let's talk training techs. Let's talk teaching
Oh,
techs,
okay.
right? Like, I mean, so because so many guys think, and we
Mhm.
kind of talked about that yesterday. They're like, "Oh, I'm a business owner." No, you're not.
No,
No,
you're
you're
not.
not. And I can speak from this, right? I was not a business owner until I started in my mastermind with EJ and TK and Justin and went, "Holy crap, I'm an idiot." Like, okay, here's
Mhm.
how I'm learning. I'm learning, I'm learning, I'm learning. And I knew some of the stuff, but I didn't know how to implement it. And so through that, and it really started with your episode. Your episode, I went, my mind's blown. Like, I straight up, I'm a mess. My house is not in order. You know what I mean? And so let's talk about like what the
Okay.
process is with a technician, right? Like, how does that
Okay.
look to train them?
Okay, well, first of all, you have to be very clear about what you want. So you got different types of techs. You got the subs that I use, so I manage them a different way and I train them because even though they're subs, I still have to train them the way I do business because they're going to bring the habits and the drama. And it's like anything else. Like I tell people, don't bend the rules at the beginning because just because you got a heart for somebody or you see parts of yourself in somebody, that doesn't mean you flex with the rules because it's not their business. And a
That's going
lot
to
of
bite you
times,
in the butt every
oh yeah,
time. Ask me
every
how I
time,
know.
every time. And the reality is that, I love the fact people say, I want a family environment, I want this and that. Well, half your family, you don't like them either. The reality is that you have to have structure and discipline in place, and it has to start with you. So, prime example, just like the young man I'll be riding with tomorrow, if I don't show up there, if I'm not there before he gets there at 6, I'm the problem. How am I going to hold him accountable when I'm not there? So, like, say you train them from the beginning, they got to be like old school. They got to do the grunt work. You're not turning wrenches because you're not about to break nothing. Like I've had guys who didn't know what they were doing go with me on jobs, and they was allegedly training. But me, I deal with a special situation because I'm female, and I always got these guys with this energy that's I like to call it misogynistic energy, but that's a different conversation. And so they'll go in and we'll be working on something. We working on the Samsung. I never forget. I had this guy, and I was like, "Dude, when you tighten in that nut, please be careful with the way you torque it. This is not a car, because you will break that nut in the in that shaft, and I'm not drilling, tapping it out. No, your ass is paying for a new transmission. That's what's gonna happen. You feel me? Oh, I know how to tighten it. What did he do?
Broke it
Well,
off.
you feel me? And then look like he did. And since I'm a boss when it comes to an owner, I take care of the bills, I take care of this, but then I cut you off. Still begging to work with me. I'm like, do I know you? You know what I'm saying? But the reality is, going back to training the tech, you first got to look at the candidate. A lot of times people don't know how to hire properly. You're supposed to be slow to hire and quick to fire. I don't care how desperate you get, but see, you get desperate because you get into a space because you're not running the business properly. You're taking everything in. You put yourself in a position where you're going to need the help. But if you chose properly and you chose the most profitable clients and the clients that appreciate the skill set, the professionalism you bring to the table, then you don't have that drama. Because when you deal with people who appreciate your craft, they understand delays, they understand when you call them and tell them this issue with a part. Like everything you do, that's why my business a boutique business. Because I'm very clear about the manpower I have. I understand the skill level of the technicians, the skill level of myself if I have to do it on my own. You know, you have to go into business like a business person. Most people go in. The hardest thing about this business is when you don't know appliance repair and you walk in and you're trying to run a business and learn how to do it. You got to realize there's a balance. There's a
It
very
goes
delicate balance.
it goes the other way too, because I came in as a technician, and the guys tell me all the time, I'm a great technician, but I'm not strong in the business sense. I have to work harder at the business sense. So you got it is a full balance. You have to have both sides in balance, until you're at a point where you have enough skilled labor and enough like another layer, whether it's a manager, a lead tech, a something, someone to do the people thing and the training thing, then you can focus more on business and you don't have to be as strong as your team. But there's a point where they have to be equal until you can move into that position where you can be more a business. And you can't be the other way either, right? You gotta, the tax man wants his money, and you darn well better pay the tax man his money.
Exactly. And that's another thing though when it comes to business about in this industry you have to be well rounded because what people don't understand is that the industry has been discovered. So you're gonna have people coming in it with just which are just lead generation companies and they're just gonna be using it like Uber and Lyft, sending out jobs, charging customers $49 to look at high end appliances and things like that. So all that is you have to understand how to use that to your advantage. Getting back to the tech piece though, it starts with the quality candidate that you get. And once you get that candidate, you have a responsibility to train them in the basics. Once they get the basics and you know they have it, because like I said, you can't be in desperation. And then you got to have the payroll set aside to properly train them. And then on top of that, you really got to have a bench. I have a bench. I don't play the okie doke because Tom, you crazy. Kick rocks is my middle name. Like I ain't even stuttering. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, these people will mess up your brand. So many things can happen, but you have to hold the reins and you have to be vigilant. Part of the problem is when people start to do well. I mean, we've all had that employee where they can talk your jaws off because they know how to interview well, they know how to be the boss pet when you're around, but they be the main one, the ones kissing your butt. At the end of the day, you have to be clear about you and your path, and you got to have checks and balances, meaning you got to be able to give people progress reports. You got to be able to coach people to the next level, and you got to be able to celebrate their wins and coach them through their weaknesses. But guess what? You have to be able to do that for yourself, too. And part of the problem is a lot of things that we're trying to pour into people, we haven't even poured into ourselves. Because we come here, yeah, we might be the boss, but we limping along and broken too. So it's a process, just like you say, Zach. You got to make sure you're whole and complete. So when you're pouring into these people, you're going to have to be prepared for the ups and downs and the disappointments, because the reality is they are human. When you are a boss, a manager, a coach, or anything, you are a lot of times mama, daddy, pastor, grandma. People show up broken. And we want to give people opportunity, but not at the cost of your business. And that's when you understand the difference, because you got the tax man here, you got that, like with my brain, whatever I do, all I think about is tax shelters and how do I get this in the tax process, or how can I get depreciation on this equipment? Because my brain, I'm pushing myself to those levels, because anybody that's dealt with CPAs, you know the game. You go to a CPA, you need to be an LLC. Well, they don't know why you need to be an LLC. That's the only paperwork they know how to do. Or you need to be, what is that, a sole, whatever. The bottom line is, you don't, that's why when people come to me and ask me for references, 99% of all my stuff I do so that when I do hand it out, I know how it goes. And that's in anything you do. So I would always advise, if you're training a tech, you need to invest in that training and you need to hold them accountable, because you can sign them up for appliantology, you can sign them up for X, Y, and Z, but guess what? Are they going to study? Like, there's a process. Remember in training at these major companies, they would have people go into a training room, they would sit there for a couple of hours, take a couple of tests, and they had something to look at. Now, they could have been BSing them a couple of hours, but the key is they had measuring and key performance indicators to find out what that employee was. The problem with our industry is that there's such a desperation for techs. People throwing anybody in the game and they're killing their brands and the industry.
Right. 100%. And no one's going to care as much as you do. So if you don't have the guardrails in place, they're going to run with it. I mean, that, and when we talk discipline and when we talk, these boundaries, like, that's a form of love, right? Because you do technicians working under you, you do subs working under you a disservice if there's not boundaries in place. We've talked about it on a previous episode. the biggest frustration, the biggest source of frustration for most business owners is unmet expectations. And how do you get the unmet expectations? Because you don't put your expectations out there. No one knows what the target is. No one knows what you're going for, and you have no one to blame but yourself. And I speak from experience. I can see the pain points in my business along the way, where I've caused these things to happen, where I've bent the rules, and that did someone a disservice. That does no one any good. I am actually, at the time this is released, I am in a place where the first time in 5 years, I am a solo shop, no one with bad habits. I get to train a tech on a slow burn from the ground up. I am so excited to implement the stuff that you've been teaching, the stuff that EJ and Justin and TK, like all these lessons that all of us have, even myself, the lessons that I've learned across the years. I am so excited to go from start to finish with a technician. So it's a process for sure.
Yeah, it's a process, but you got to constantly make sure that you're pouring in yourself, because the key is these things come to pass. You're going to be pulled in different directions, and you're going to have to make choices. Like I tell people every day, where you are today is because of the choice you made 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, and last week. And that's the reality, because most people don't think past their noses. So they find themselves in places, and they're constantly, the key is people out here trying to survive, when you should be thriving. But the bottom line is most people don't know how. Because all they know is, when you come from nothing and you struggle, you think as long as I'm not getting a welfare check and I ain't standing on the corner, I'm doing good. I'm doing better. But the point is you can be great if you really invest in yourself and watch the people you're around. Like, for instance, I talk to you guys have elevated the game, you bring things to the table, it helps me think and do my thing. So you be careful who you around and how you move. Because if you're going to be next level, you can't be slumming. I don't know how I feel about that one.
100%. I mean, you're the sum of the 5 to 10 people that you're around the most. And if you're not around people that challenge you, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong dang room. Find a different room,
Yeah, that's a frustration we have. I see all the time because people be like, well, why can't we this? And it ain't no we. It starts with you. And I tell people all the time, when I was a regional and a junior VP for these corporate companies I work for, a lot of times I was the only one. But the key is I'm in my vehicle 300 days out of the year. I'm doing seminars. I'm listening to my mentors on YouTube through Audible, because these people they mentored me. You feel me? The people who where I want to be or have the characteristics and the drive, the ambition, and the results that I wanted to achieve. I immerse myself. So a lot of times my mentees, I'm on them. Make sure you get your Audible. Make sure you're listening to something every morning on your walk or whatever you do, because you have to pour into yourself. Where you came from is not an excuse for you to fail. Adversity feeds the fire. I hate to say it. So the reality is there's no excuses at this point. We are in the middle of a lot of changes here in America, and either you can be on one side or the other. Figure it out.
Yeah, you can't fill a cup from an empty pitcher.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the caliber of co-host to expect. She keeps it real. She doesn't BS anything. She doesn't hold back. She's Miss Ward. You are an excellent balance to my playing Switzerland. And this is going to be a fun ride over the next couple months, having you rotating in and out.
Exactly.
So we're looking forward to it. You have any closing thoughts for our audience before we end the episode?
Yeah, well, the only thing I can say is, like I tell all my solid steppers, just keep stepping, man. That's all you can do, man. And if you fall, all you're going to do is fall forward and get right back. You're still 2 inches ahead. So go get it. That's all I got to say.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to co-hosting with you again. All right, guys, that has been the Appliance Alliance Podcast. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, and keep elevating the appliance industry one podcast at a time.